I wanted to like the live-action One Piece. Everyone else seemed to be enjoying it, but unfortunately, I just don't think it's very good. Now, to be fair, out of all the live-action anime adaptations, it's probably the best and the least offensive. It's very obvious that a lot of effort went into the production of this one, so, it's not terrible, but the very idea of a live-action One Piece is just so absurd to me. Out of all the anime, you choose the most goofy, most cartoony, most unrealistic of them all to adapt into live action. Now, it's not all bad. For starters, the set design, the prop design, they're both really well done. The visual effects are also surprisingly not terrible. Like, for a TV show, this is pretty good. I'll give credit where credit is due. My major problems come with the script and the acting and the directing and the editing and pretty much everything else. First of all, no disrespect to the actors here, they are trying their best to make this work.
I'm Monkey D. Luffy. And I'm gonna be king of the pirates.
The problem is actually the script and the direction. Live-action One Piece is so obsessed with being true and accurate to the source material that it kind of suffers from what I like to call cosplay syndrome, where the characters looking like real people dressed up as anime characters but talking and acting exactly like those characters makes the endearing nature of said anime characters just really, really cringe.
Get lost.
I am lost. Well, I'm Monkey D. Luffy. And I will be the king of the pirates. And I think you should join my crew.
What makes you think I'd want to play pirates with you? I made a promise to someone a long time ago.
And that's one of the biggest problems with live-action One Piece. It is cringe. When these are cartoon characters that look like this and move like this, my suspension of disbelief is elevated. But when you get these real-ass people to be spouting this Disney Channel dialogue, it's just kind of embarrassing. Luffy's actor is trying way too hard to be airheaded and jovial, Zoro's actor is trying way too hard to be edgy and cool, and you might want to say, but this is how the characters are in the anime, and you'd be right, but those are cartoon characters, and anime is all about exaggeration. Without the cartoon elements, this just comes off as really stilted and awkward, like the rest of the show. Aside from the acting, the visuals are probably the other reason the whole show feels jank. I know I just praised the visual effects for looking good, but the visual effects aren't the problem. The visual presentation is. Like every live-action remake, they've zapped out all the color and just toned down the saturation. And that would be fine if they were going for a more realistic approach, but it's not. One Piece LA is trying so hard to feel like the cartoon, but it's missing the most cartoony thing about the cartoon: the colors. I feel like you can improve a lot of the scenes in the show by simply turning up the saturation a bit, but what isn't easy to fix is the camera work. A lot of the fights just look like garbage, and this is because of how the choreography is extremely exaggerated and anime-like, but the camera doesn't help that at all. There's just way too many cuts between shots, and it's never done in a way that elevates the action. It's just kind of there to distract you from how weird some of the choreography can be. But it kind of gets better as the series goes along, so at least there's that. Really, the problem with the live-action One Piece is that it's taking a story that is inherently geared, towards illustration and animation, and it doesn't really do anything to take advantage of its new medium. I doubt if you weren't a fan of One Piece before that watching this show would suddenly make you a fan, especially since it's very obvious that the entire show is primarily meant to be a fan service piece. And for what it's worth, that's fine. But I don't understand the praise for this one. Those awful FMA live-action movies were accurate to the source material, and the Bleach live-action movie has really good visuals and really good choreography. So what makes One Piece so different? Why do people like it? Why do people give it a pass? Well, for one, I'd say that the expectations for One Piece were pretty low considering the bar for live-action anime was already in hell, and Netflix somehow managed to screw up both Cowboy Bebop and Death Note, two shows that are much easier to adapt into live action. So when it came out and it wasn't a complete train wreck, everyone was like,
Hey,
That's pretty good.
Another reason is because One Piece fans are some of the most annoying people on the internet. And once it was made public that Oda had some hand in production of the show, it not being at least decent would be a massive stain on the franchise's reputation. So like any good deranged fan base, they started shutting down any criticisms towards the One Piece live action. IGN released a pretty reasonable review for the show, and everyone just started attacking them for implying sticking too close to the source material ended up hurting the potential of the show. Which is true, but people don't actually care about whatever point they had to make. They saw IGN give this thing a 6 out of 10 and got angry because of course they did. This whole thing reminds me of the Mario movie situation, where people who are fans and have some level of familiarity with the source material will have a positive bias towards it. So when any form of criticism is levied against the adaptation, these people take an absurd level of defense to the review and start saying nonsense about how critics shouldn't be trusted and blah 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 blah. But if you're not willing to engage with the discourse without acknowledging your own biases, you're going to keep getting offended when reviewers who are not supposed to reflect your own biases have differing opinions than you. And while we're on the topic of critic reviews and IGN, I hope the people who keep complaining about IGN scores and how they give a show a rating but give another show another rating that's higher realize that the reviews by IGN are done by different people with different tastes and different expectations. If IGN did have a single person reviewing every game or TV show or whatever, you do realize that they would have no time to actually engage with any of the media they review, right? So obviously they must have different people reviewing different things, and those reviews are going to be inconsistent because of the variations in taste. In fact, so many of you consider gaming journalists, reviewers, critics, etc. to all be frauds and illegitimate. So I have to wonder why you all care so much about what they have to say, to the point where every time they give a number lower than what you expect, you throw a hissy fit on Twitter. Anyway, that's not the topic for today. All in all, One Piece live action is not good, but if you enjoy it, good for you.